There comes a moment in every soul's journey where the noise fades, the people who once filled our world step back, and we find ourselves standing alone with nothing but our thoughts, our fears, and the quiet echo of our own heartbeat. For many, this silence feels heavy, almost frightening, because we've spent a lifetime leaning on others to keep us upright. But solitude is not a punishment. It is an invitation, a gentle call from the most merciful, guiding us back to Him. On Iman Revival, today's message is a reminder that your worth is not defined by who stays or who leaves. You are not empty because people walked away. You are not broken because someone failed to understand your heart. Sometimes Allah removes what distracts you so He can rebuild you in ways no human ever could. He places you in moments of aloneness not to weaken you, but to strengthen your trust, to deepen your resilience, and to show you that peace was never meant to come from Him. People, it was always meant to come from Him, by the weeds of expectations, disappointments, and dependence. Solitude is the rain that clears the dust, the sunlight that makes space for new life, the quiet that allows you to hear the whisper of hope again. And in that stillness, you learn something powerful. You are never truly alone. The one who shaped your soul, who writes your story with divine precision, who knows every trembling worry, He is with you, closer than your breath. So today, let this message soften what life has hardened. Let it remind you to breathe, to trust, to release the burdens you've carried for too long. Walk forward with calm certainty, knowing that every delay has purpose. Every moment spent alone is a chance to rise stronger, purer, and more connected to the one who never leaves. This is your call to stand again, to find happiness not in people, but in purpose, not in company, but in contentment, not in the world, but in the one who created it. May your heart find its peace, its strength, and its direction in Him today and always. Understanding the hidden wisdom in solitude begins with recognizing that moments of aloneness are not empty spaces in our lives. They are sacred pauses written with divine care. Many people fear being alone because silence exposes what we try so hard to ignore: our insecurities, our unhealed wounds, our longing for reassurance. We often rush to fill every quiet moment with the presence of others, hoping their voices will drown out the thoughts we struggle to face. But solitude has a purpose far deeper than the discomfort it initially brings. It is one of the most powerful teachers in a believer's life, shaping the heart in ways that comfort never could. When the world around you becomes still, and no one is there to validate you or hold your hand through the storm, you begin to notice something extraordinary. You start hearing your soul. The constant need for approval fades. The noise of expectations falls away. What remains is your raw, unfiltered self, standing before the one who created you. And in that intimate space, you realize that every dependence you placed on creation was limiting your connection to the Creator. Sometimes Allah allows people to drift away, not as a sign of rejection, but as a sign of protection. He removes distraction so your heart can finally breathe in the truth it was created for. That peace, strength, and wholeness come only from Him. Solitude teaches you to stop assigning other people the responsibility of carrying your joy. As long as your happiness is tied to someone else's attention, affection, or presence, you will remain emotionally fragile, shaken by their mood, their choices, their inconsistency. But when you sit alone and allow your heart to settle into the reality that Allah is enough, something profound happens. You rediscover your worth. Not the worth shaped by society standards or someone's treatment of you, but the worth given to you by the one who shaped you with intention. You begin to realize that you are not half of anything. You are a complete soul, capable of growing, healing, and rising on your own. In solitude, you also learn the beauty of sincerity. When no one is watching, when there's no one to impress or please, your actions become purely for Allah. Your dua flows from a place of vulnerability. Your tears fall with honesty. Your prayers are no longer rushed obligations but heartfelt conversations. These private moments of worship polish the heart in a way that cannot be replicated among crowds. They remind you that spirituality is not a performance, it is a relationship, personal and profound. There is also a hidden strength that blooms in aloneness. Life will always bring challenges, losses, and changes. If you rely solely on people to carry you through them, you will fall apart the moment they step back. But if you learn through solitude how to rely on Allah first, you become unshakable. You realize that even if the world turns its back, your protector never will. Even if your voice trembles, He hears you before you speak. Even if your heart breaks, He is the one who heals it in ways no human can. This understanding is not born in moments of ease. It is cultivated in nights of quiet reflection, in days when you sit alone with your thoughts, in the stillness where God writes strength into your soul. Solitude also reveals the temporary nature of this world. When you are constantly surrounded by people, it's easy to lose yourself in the illusion of permanence, believing relationships, moments, and circumstances will last forever. But aloneness reminds you that nothing here is guaranteed. People enter and exit your life with the changing seasons, but Allah remains constant. This realization doesn't make you bitter, it makes you wise. It teaches you to love without attachment, to give without expecting, and to appreciate without clinging. You begin to see relationships as blessings, not lifelines as gifts, not necessities. Perhaps the most profound wisdom found in solitude is the clarity it brings. When you step away from the noise of society, from the opinions of others, from the pressure to fit into certain roles, you finally see your path more clearly. You start recognizing what truly matters and what merely drains your energy. You begin to understand your purpose, your values, and the kind of person you want to become. This clarity is not something others can give you, it is something you uncover within yourself, guided by the light Allah places in your heart. Solitude is not a void to fear, it is a sanctuary to enter with grace. It shapes your character, strengthens your soul, and deepens your connection with the one who knows you better than you know yourself. Every moment spent alone is a moment spent in divine company, even when you cannot see it. And when you finally embrace this truth, loneliness transforms into tranquility, fear turns into wisdom, and dependence becomes freedom. In solitude, you do not lose yourself, you find the version of you that Allah always intended you to be. Healing from emotional dependence and reclaiming inner strength begins with understanding why the heart holds on so tightly to people in the first place. Often we attach ourselves because we are searching for something: security, validation, love, consistency, a sense of belonging. We seek in human beings what only the Creator can truly provide. And while relationships are a blessing, they were never meant to be the foundation of our emotional survival. When you rely too heavily on others to lift you, comfort you, or complete you, you unknowingly hand over parts of your heart that were meant to remain anchored in something unshakable. Emotional dependence feels like safety at first, but eventually it becomes a weight you can no longer carry, because human beings were not designed to sustain your entire emotional world. There comes a time in life when Allah, out of His mercy, begins to shift things. People you leaned on may become distant. Voices you once depended on may fall silent. Support you relied on may no longer arrive when you expect it. It feels painful, even unfair, but it is actually a process of liberation. It is the unlearning of habits that kept your heart tangled in expectations. It is Allah showing you that your emotional strength must rise from within, not from fragile attachments. The moment you stop expecting people to be your rescue, you begin discovering the strength that was always inside you, but buried beneath dependence. Healing from emotional dependence is not about becoming cold, distant, or self-sufficient to the point of isolation. It is about learning to love with balance, to care with boundaries, and to stand without collapsing whenever someone steps away. It is about recognizing that people can complement your life, but cannot complete it. When you base your happiness on someone's presence, words, or attention, you make your heart vulnerable to disappointment. People change. Circumstances shift. Hearts move. No matter how sincere someone is, they cannot carry your emotional universe indefinitely. And expecting them to do so creates pressure that damages both your peace and the relationship itself. The healing journey often begins with pain. When someone pulls away or disappoints you, The first instinct is to blame them or blame yourself. But healing requires stepping back and seeing the deeper truth. Emotional dependence develops not because you are human. You long for connection. You crave reassurance. You want to feel valued. These desires are natural. The problem arises only when you attempt to fill these needs using limited sources. But when these experiences lead you back to the one who never leaves, who never disappoints, and who never grows tired of supporting you, they become moments of awakening rather than moments of loss. Part of reclaiming inner strength is learning how to sit with your emotions rather than outsourcing them to others. Instead of reaching for someone to soothe your fears, you learn to breathe through them. Instead of expecting someone to validate your worth, you remind yourself of the dignity Allah already placed within you. Instead of depending on someone to tell you everything will be okay, you begin to trust that every hardship carries wisdom and every delay carries purpose. Emotional resilience grows each time you choose to turn inward and upward rather than outward. One of the most powerful steps in breaking emotional dependence is understanding that your heart was created to be held by the one who never falters. When your connection with Allah deepens, you stop fearing abandonment because you know the true companion is always with you. You stop fearing loneliness because you discover the sweetness of being guided, loved, and supported in ways no human could match. You stop tying your peace to human behavior because your peace becomes rooted in something eternal. This shift does not happen overnight. It happens through moments of reflection, moments of prayer, moments of trusting, even when things still feel uncertain. Emotional independence does not mean you stop caring for people. It means you stop losing yourself in them. It means you can love deeply without clinging desperately. You can give kindness without expecting repayment. You can appreciate someone's presence without collapsing at their absence. You begin to show up in relationships from a place of fullness rather than emptiness. When you no longer need others to fix your broken pieces, you become capable of loving with sincerity rather than fear. Over time, you start realizing that you are stronger than you ever believed. The tears you once saw as weakness become signs of growth. The silence that once scared you becomes a source of clarity. The distance that once hurt you becomes a space for self-discovery. You begin to see that Allah was never taking people away to hurt you. He was clearing space to rebuild you. You rediscover yourself piece by piece until your heart no longer bends under the pressure of dependency. Healing from emotional dependence is a rebirth. It is a return to your own strength, your own identity. It is embracing the truth that you can walk with confidence, love with balance, and live with peace because your heart is no longer chained to the unpredictable nature of people. It is anchored in something far more lasting. And from that place of inner stability, you rise into the best, strongest, and most spiritually grounded version of yourself. Embracing self-worth through trust in Allah is a transformative journey that reshapes the way you self, your purpose, and your place in this world. Many people walk through life feeling inadequate, unseen, or unappreciated. They measure their worth through the eyes of others, how they are treated, how they are spoken about, how much love or attention they receive. But human beings are inconsistent. Their love is imperfect, their recognition is temporary, and their approval fluctuates with their own emotions and struggles. If your self-worth is tied to something so fragile, your heart will always remain vulnerable. True worth is not given by people, it is given by the one who created you. And trusting in Him is what allows you to finally stand tall, even when the world tries to diminish your value. There is something profoundly liberating about knowing that you were created with purpose. You are not an accident. You are not replaceable. You are not insignificant. Before anyone had an opinion about you, before anyone judged your appearance or questioned your abilities, Allah already knew your heart. He knew your potential, your intention, your struggles, and your capacity for growth. When you embrace this truth, you stop seeking permission to exist. You stop living your life as if you are waiting for someone to tell you that you matter. You realize you matter from the very moment you were created. Trusting in Allah reshapes your sense of self because it shifts your focus from external validation to internal truth. Instead of wondering, am I good enough for people? Your heart begins to ask, am I sincere for Allah? This change in perspective frees you from the exhausting cycle of trying to please everyone. You no longer need to perform emotionally or spiritually just to earn someone's approval. You begin to walk with quiet confidence, knowing that your worth is rooted in something eternal. And when you trust that Allah sees your efforts, your intentions, and your silent battles, you no longer feel invisible even when people fail to notice you. One of the greatest barriers to self-worth is comparison. In a world filled with displays of perfection, it is easy to feel like everyone else has more beauty, more success, more support, more certainty. But comparison blinds you to your own blessings. It convinces you that you are lacking when, in reality, Allah has written for you a path uniquely designed for your growth and strength. When you trust in His plan, you stop measuring your pace by someone else's timeline. You begin to appreciate your journey, even if it unfolds slowly. You start to see that every delay, every challenge, and every hardship was preparing you for something meaningful. And through that realization, you reclaim your sense of worth not through what you have, but through who you are becoming. Trusting in Allah also means understanding that your mistakes do not define you. Many people carry shame like a heavy cloak, convinced that their past failures make them unworthy. But Allah's mercy is far greater than any error you've made. When you turn back to Him, when you seek forgiveness, when you take even one small step toward betterment, you are already loved and accepted. People may hold on to your past, but Allah looks at your heart in this moment. He sees your effort, your remorse, your hope. Embracing this truth heals the wounds of self-judgment and allows you to rise again with dignity. A heart that trusts in Allah becomes unbreakable in ways that are deeply beautiful. Not because it is hardened, but because it is anchored. When you know that your provider is the one who opens doors, you stop begging people for opportunities. When you know your honor comes from Him, you stop letting others determine your value. When you believe that whatever is meant for you will reach you, you stop chasing what was never written for you. This trust frees you. It allows you to breathe without fear, to live without constant uncertainty, and to love without losing yourself. And in that freedom, something remarkable happens. You begin to treat yourself with kindness. You stop speaking to yourself with harshness. You begin to honor your emotions instead of suppressing them. You start choosing environments and relationships that nourish your soul instead of draining it. You set boundaries not from arrogance, but from self-respect. You begin to carry yourself with a quiet strength that others can feel, not because you think highly of yourself, but because you are finally aligned with the truth of who you are. A soul created by the most merciful, guided by the most wise. As you grow in trust, you suddenly realize that the things you once thought made you unworthy were actually shaping you into someone wiser, softer, and stronger. The heartbreaks humbled you. The loneliness refined you. The disappointments redirected you. Every moment that once felt like a loss was, in reality, a step toward discovering your true worth through Him. Embracing self-worth through trust in Allah is not a destination, it is a lifelong journey. But with every step, your heart becomes lighter, your mind becomes clearer, and your soul becomes more certain of its value. You begin to live not for approval, but for purpose. Not for peace, not for people, but for the one who created you with love and intention. And in that realization, you finally become whole. Turning loneliness into a pathway of spiritual growth begins with recognizing that the moments when your heart feels the most empty are often the moments Allah is preparing to fill you with something far deeper than what you lost. Loneliness is usually seen as a void, a sign that something is missing, but it can also be a one that opens into a season of self-discovery, purification, and closeness to the one who knows every secret in your chest. It is in these quiet, uncertain spaces that the soul is softened, the ego is humbled, and the heart begins to listen to the whispers it once ignored. There's a unique kind of clarity that emerges when the world becomes silent around you. When the conversations stop, when the laughter fades, when people who once filled your days drift into distance, you are left with your own breath and the sound of your thoughts. At first, it can feel suffocating, almost cruel. But slowly, you begin to notice that your heart starts seeking something beyond human comfort. It turns toward the one who has never left. The loneliness that once felt like a heavy fog becomes a lantern guiding you toward spiritual awakening. It is in these quiet margins of life that you realize true peace is not found in crowded rooms, but in sincere moments with your Creator. Many people fear being alone because it forces them to confront the wounds they try to hide beneath routines, friendships, or constant distractions. But loneliness has a way of uncovering the truth. It brings your deepest fears to the surface: fear of abandonment, fear of not being forgotten. These emotions are uncomfortable, but they are also gateways. When you face them with courage and faith, you begin to peel back the layers of the heart and discover what truly needs healing. This introspection becomes a powerful form of growth. You stop asking why people left, and you start asking what Allah is teaching you in their absence. Loneliness is often the classroom where patience is taught. When you are surrounded by people, you can easily distract yourself from delays, disappointments, and unanswered prayers. But when you sit alone, you begin to feel the weight of waiting. And in that waiting, something extraordinary happens. You start to understand the meaning of patience. Not the passive kind that simply endures hardship, but the active kind that trusts deeply, hopes quietly, and believes firmly that Allah's timing is perfect. You begin to grow roots of resilience that can only form in stillness. Your heart learns to surrender, not out of certainty that whatever is meant for you will arrive exactly when it's meant to. Loneliness can also purify your intentions. When no one is watching, when there is no audience to applaud your actions, your worship becomes real. You begin to pray not because someone told you to, but because you crave the comfort of that connection. You raise your hands in dua, not as a habit, but as a plea. You turn your face to the heavens not because it's routine, but because your soul feels drawn to the one who made it. In these undisturbed moments, your faith becomes less about form and more about sincerity. This purity is a treasure that can only be found in solitude. Another beauty of loneliness is that it makes you more aware of your dependence on Allah rather than people. You realize that human beings, no matter how loving or loyal, can never fill the spaces in your heart that were created for divine connection. You stop expecting others to understand every pain, fix every wound, or remain constant in a world where everything changes. Instead, you begin to rely on Allah with a depth you never imagined possible. And this reliance doesn't make you weaker, it makes you unshakable. Knowing that Allah is with you in your loneliest moments reshapes your entire existence. Your footsteps become steadier, your heart becomes calmer, and your burdens feel lighter. Loneliness can also nurture gratitude. When you are surrounded by people, you may take moments of peace for granted. But solitude teaches you the sweetness of a quiet morning, the blessing of a single sincere conversation, the comfort of even one friend who truly cares. You begin to appreciate the small things, the subtle signs, the everyday mercies that were once overlooked. Gratitude grows easily when the heart is not overstimulated. It blooms in silence like a hidden flower that only appears when the world slows down. As you continue walking through this season of loneliness, you start realizing that it is not a dead end, but a path leading you somewhere meaningful. The more you turn to Allah, the more your heart expands. The more you reflect, the more you understand yourself. The more you trust, the more peace takes root inside you. Eventually, the loneliness that once felt like an emotional drought becomes a source of spiritual nourishment. And when Allah finally brings new people, new opportunities, or new beginnings into your life, you meet them with a heart that is whole, not desperate, not dependent, not afraid. You emerge from this journey wiser, softer, and more connected to your Creator. Loneliness, once seen as a burden, becomes one of the greatest gifts Allah placed on your path, a gift that taught you how to grow inwardly, love deeply, and walk through life with unparalleled strength. Learning to walk with patience, faith, and divine contentment is one of the most transformative journeys a person can embark on. Life rarely unfolds according to our plans. We wait for doors to open, for hearts to heal, for uncertainty to settle, for prayers to unfold in ways we can understand. And in that waiting, the heart often trembles. It wants clarity now. It wants answers now. It wants relief now. But true growth happens in the unseen moments, those quiet stretches of time where nothing appears to be changing, yet everything within you is being reshaped by the one who knows what you need long before you do. Patience is not simply a matter of enduring hardships with a forced smile. It is the art of trusting that every season of your life has been ordered with wisdom. It means accepting that some things will take time, that healing is not instant, that blessings often arrive wrapped in delays. When you live with patience, you stop demanding that your life move faster than it does. You begin to realize that rushing through hardships doesn't bring relief, it only brings frustration. But surrendering your timeline to the one who controls all time brings an unexpected peace. You start to feel a softness in your heart, an understanding that even the waiting carries purpose. Faith begins where your strength ends. It is the moment you look at your circumstances, see no clear solution, yet still whisper, "I trust that this is leading me somewhere good." Faith does not erase fear, but it prevents fear from owning you. It allows you to walk through darkness with the certainty that there is light ahead, even if you cannot see it yet. The essence of faith lies in believing that every prayer you make is heard, that every tear you shed is seen, and that nothing you face is ever wasted. Faith transforms the way you experience life. You stop viewing challenges as punishments and start seeing them as pathways to greater understanding, deeper compassion, and stronger connection with Allah. Contentment, true contentment, comes only after patience and faith have taken root in the heart. It is the state where you look at what you have and genuinely feel at peace with it. You no longer feel desperate to chase what others have. You no longer measure your value through worldly achievements or constantly compare your blessings to someone else's. Contentment softens the hard edges of your heart. It teaches you to treasure the small moments, the simple mercies, the quiet joys that were always there, but overshadowed by worry and longing. When you learn to be content, you don't lose ambition, you just start living with balance. You strive for better while remaining grateful for now. Walking with patience, faith, and contentment does not mean you suppress your emotions. It means you allow them to exist without letting them control the direction of your life. You may cry. You may feel tired. You may wonder why certain difficulties keep returning. But deep beneath these emotions, you hold on to something unshakable. Trust that the storm will pass. Trust that Allah is guiding you through every moment. Trust that what is meant for you will always find its way to you. This trust becomes your anchor when life becomes unpredictable. There will be moments when you are tested in ways that feel overwhelming. People may disappoint you. Opportunities may slip away. Plans may fall apart. In those moments, patience feels heavy, faith feels distant, and contentment feels impossible. But this is exactly when your spiritual muscles grow. Hardships stretch your heart so it can hold more wisdom. Delays stretch your understanding so you can appreciate blessings more deeply. Closed doors stretch your trust so you can learn to rely on Allah rather than clinging to what was never meant for you. Every hardship is carving strength into you, even when you cannot see it yet. Patience teaches you calmness. Faith teaches you courage. Contentment teaches you gratitude. Together, they transform not only the way you experience life, but the way you experience Allah. You start noticing His mercy in the smallest things, the morning light, the breath in your chest, the opportunities you once overlooked, the lessons hidden inside difficulties. You begin to understand that nothing is random. Every delay, every blessing, every heartbreak is part of a tapestry far greater than anything you could design on your own. When these qualities settle in your heart, you start living with a different kind of strength. You walk through life with steadiness, not because everything is perfect, but because you know who is guiding you. You no longer fear the unknown because you trust the one who knows everything. You no longer crumble when things fall apart because you believe that Allah rebuilds with purpose. You begin living with a quiet, beautiful certainty that everything meant for you will arrive right on time. And as you grow in patience, faith, and contentment, you inspire others without even trying. Your calmness becomes a refuge for those drowning in worry. Your trust becomes a reminder that hope is never lost. Your gratitude becomes a soft light in a world filled with constant comparison. You start to embody the serenity that comes from walking with Allah instead of running after this world. In the end, these qualities don't just change your life, they change your heart. They teach you to embrace your journey with grace, to wait without fear, to believe without seeing, and to live with a peace that cannot be shaken. They turn your life into a quiet declaration of trust, that Allah's timing is perfect, His wisdom is flawless, and His plan for you is worth every moment of patience.